Welcome to Career Tipper Podcast, hosted by Michelle Beatty. The Career Tipper Podcast is a motivational resource that shares career and entrepreneurial tips by industry experts that will help amazing people evolve to their professional best. And now your host, Michelle Beatty.
Episode 49 of the Career Tipper Podcast features Carl Pullein. Carl is a sought-after and renowned productivity and life management coach. He has over 25 years of experience and has helped thousands of people around the world get better at managing their time and become more productive using a simple system and the technology they carry around with them every day. Originally from Leeds in the United Kingdom, Carl has lived and worked in Seoul, South Korea since 2002. Carl knows what it's like to feel overwhelmed by work and distraction. He has developed strategies and systems to get tasks done. Carl is the author of 3 productivity and time management books, including the popular Your Digital Life and Your Digital Life 2.0. During this episode, Carl is going to chat about mastering productivity. I'm your host, Michelle Beatty, professional development author and coach. Carl, welcome to the Career Tipper Podcast.
Well, hello, Michelle, and thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
This is a delight. Oh, my goodness. So, Carl, please share your path to becoming a productivity and life management coach.
Well, my interest in productivity and time management goes back to when I was in middle school, actually. I was terrible at exams, terrible. In fact, I don't think I ever got more than 50% in any exam. But what I was very good at is designing study timetables. Those when I was in middle school, we didn't really have computers like we have today. So I was using A4 paper, a pencil, and a ruler, and I would design these wonderful timetables, and I loved it. I think I spent more time designing those than I actually did studying. But from there, I've always had this huge interest in time management, productivity, and when I got into the workforce, when I started working, I read. It was actually, I think they call it a Franklin Planner, but it was Franklin Quest when I first started with it. That was in the very early 1990s, and I used one of those for close to 15, 16 years, and I did keep up with it every single day. I've just had this amazing interest in productivity and time management. When it comes to coaching, that has come about since I came to Korea in 2002, and I started teaching English here, and gradually I moved towards teaching business professionals and business senior executives. And I realized that a lot of these guys, they're incredibly talented and incredibly smart people, and yet their biggest weakness in almost every single case was their time management and productivity. And so I was able to bring together my native language, English, and my knowledge of productivity and time management and start helping people here in Korea first, actually, with time management and productivity. And then back in 2015, I wrote my first book and started my YouTube channel, and it's just now gone global, so it's growing now. So that's my path towards this.
You have over 21,000 YouTube followers.
Yes.
Yes, I think that's awesome considering it's about productivity. It's not about the bloopers or comedy or anything like that. This is a tool that helps people be productive in their life. And I think it's awesome that you have such amazing content that attracts such a great following. So kudos to you, Carl. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
Now, I've launched a call to action for all professionals, blue collar and white collar, to make dedicated effort to keep their skills, both their technical and their soft skills, recharged to remain competitive in the global workforce. There's so many changes taking place. And I sincerely feel that accountability and productivity complement each other when managing daily tasks and professional development. So, Carl, please share some must-have commitment qualifiers when developing a personal productivity system.
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, the biggest problem I think that the first problem that most people have is they don't actually have a system. And so they're being very reactive. That's the biggest thing I've found. If you don't have any kind of time management or productivity system, and the two kind of cross over, although they are slightly different. If you don't actually have a system in place, you're going to be very reactive. So instead of you being in control of the day and what you do during the day is going to start taking control of you. And that's what actually causes a lot of people's stress, because they have no idea what's going to happen next. They have no idea what they're going to work on next, and they just don't feel in control of their lives. And that's one of the things that really causes a lot of people's stress. But when you put in place a productivity system, and I mean a personal productivity system, not a factory system, you start taking control of your day. And that's the first step, is to get in control of your day, whether you're using a calendar, a to-do list manager, whatever it is. But by having some kind of productivity and time management system, you are going to start taking more control of your day. And that's where it sort of starts from. But the biggest problem I found with most people is that they're not collecting all their commitments, so they're trying to remember everything in their head. And one of the things that I've known about our brain is it's not a very good way, it's not a good task manager. It's very good at telling us to buy milk when we open the refrigerator wanting a glass of milk and discover that we don't actually have any milk. It never reminds us when we're walking past the supermarket or the convenience store. And so our brains are terrible at managing our tasks. And that's why you need to get them out. And one of the biggest things for me is take advantage of the technology we have around with us. I think every single smartphone today has some form of to-do list manager in it, whether it's on the iPhone, you've got reminders. On Google, I think it's called Google Tasks. Every single phone has one. So start using it, and you will suddenly free up your brain to be able to do more important things, like thinking about your future and your development. But that was the biggest thing I would say, is like a commitment qualifier. Commit to capturing everything that comes across your mind, whether it's a note, a task, or an event.
Indeed. And Carl, you have a class that you offer about that and how to help people use their digital resources. I do, and it's a free online course that I put together, which I call The Beginner's Guide to Cod, which is not the fish. It's a good way to remember it. But it's collect, organize, and do. And essentially all you're doing is it's about showing you how to collect all your stuff during the day, the commitments, the events, and the notes and ideas that you have, how to organize all that at the end of the day in just 10 minutes, although when you first start, it probably takes about 20 minutes. And of course, doing and being able to prioritize what's important and what's not important. And so that's what that course goes to. I think it's about a 45-minute course. And for anyone who really is making that commitment for 2019 that they're going to get their stuff together, then that would be a great place to start. It's completely free of charge and should be able to give you the basic concepts to build your own system. Yes, and Carl not only offers that amazing free resource that I myself have downloaded and utilized, but he also has a complete library of productivity courses that you can just pick and choose from and see which one is a right fit for you and where you are in your journey to being more productive and what works with you and your lifestyle. So check it out. It's an awesome resource. And I think everyone can benefit from it if that's your focus for you. Now, Carl, please tell the listeners about this amazing project that you have started, which I think is wonderful. It's 1 Million Project, focused on productivity and time management and how they can get involved.
So Project 1 Million is really all about helping people to become better organized and more productive. Now, the main reason for this is I work with a lot of healthcare professionals here in South Korea. And I spoke to, I'm working with professors of all kinds of professors of oncology, cardiology, and every single one of them have told me that the biggest reason why cancer rates are going up and heart disease going up is not just the fact that we as humans are beginning to live longer, but it's our lifestyle, it's our stress. Stress is the biggest killer. It's the biggest cause of death in the developed world today. And most of that stress comes from not having any kind of control over our lives. As I mentioned earlier, that's what causes a lot of our stress. We just feel completely lost, overwhelmed, and stressed out. Now, one of the things I've learned about being more organized and becoming more productive is that your stress levels reduce immediately, because from almost immediately, if you can do this test now, if you're feeling stressed, just get a piece of paper and write down everything that's on your mind. And once you've got it out of your head and on paper, you will immediately feel a lot less stressed. Even if you do nothing else with it, you will find yourself feeling a lot less stressed. And that's because once it's on paper, you can actually see, well, actually, it's not that bad. I can actually do that. But in your head, your brain is saying, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. You're going to die. You're going to die. You know, our head is just terrible for this sort of thing. But on paper, you'll see and you think, wow, actually, I can do that. So it's my way of being able to help people to live a lot happier lives, because I know that being better at time management, being better organized and being more productive is such a huge stress relief. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I can't help people's lives medically, but I know that in the area that I've studied, which is productivity and time management and goal planning, I can help people in that way. And that's what I really want to do. So that's why I started that project. And I won't stop after I've got to 1 million. Of course, it will go up to 5 million and then 10 million. I just want to help as many people as I can, because I know it works.
That's awesome. Now, I must admit, Carl, I know without a shadow of a doubt, email, oh my goodness, it is so addictive. Email is addictive. And I know that it can affect productivity adversely. So what rule of thumb do you encourage your clients to implement to use email as a way to improve their productivity?
Well, actually, I tried to get people to follow what I call Inbox Zero. Now, Inbox Zero has been around for a while. A gentleman called Michael Mann, he was a Merlin Mann, developed this system. Well, he developed a system that he called 43 folders, on his website, 43 folders, and he called it Inbox Zero. Now, Inbox Zero essentially is zeroing out your email at the end of every day, and most people say, no chance, impossible, never going to happen. But there are a few strategies that you can do. I operate essentially with just 3 folders. One is I call my action this day, which is a phrase I stole from Winston Churchill because it just has so much action in that phrase, action this day. And basically the rule I have for that is any email in there must be responded to within 24 hours. I have a waiting for folder and an archive folder. And he said that's essentially all I have. Now, whenever I get an email, if I can deal with it within 2 minutes or less, I just deal with it there and then. Just deal with it. If I can't deal with it, but it needs a reply, it goes into my action this day folder. And pretty much, over time, if you discipline yourself, you will get so good at that as soon as email comes in, most of the time, there's nothing in your inbox. I think that's the biggest problem. People use inbox as a filing cabinet for all their old emails. And once you do that, it just becomes a whole mess. So you need to move it out and either archive it or delete it, if it's just newsletters. Or something that you need to deal with today, just get it in your action this day folder and then just work from that folder throughout the day. And that's a really basic outline of how it works. But essentially, once you get into the Inbox Zero system, it really can reduce your overwhelm in the email system. I mean, I just spent 20 minutes this afternoon zeroing out my action this day folder for all my email, and I have completely zeroed out everything now. I feel so much better.
So you practice what you teach. Okay. That's awesome. Now,
but I do understand that email is like that. People, the problem is that when an email comes in, people just leave it. And it's okay if you do that with one, but if you do that every day and you've got 50, 60 emails, by the end of the week, that's a lot of emails stuck in your inbox.
It is. It is.
So deal with it when it comes in.
Noted. Okay. Now, what are a few repeat occurrences that you help your clients with the most? And is it really like a mindset pivot that needs to occur to break the cycle?
It is in a way. It's the daily habits that people have, and then most people are not aware of them. It's our daily, if you like, habits and patterns of behavior. And it's like I started waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning way back in June, and just as an experiment. And I think I punished myself unnecessarily when I say it just as an experiment. But actually, the first 3 or 4 days was hell. I was walking around like a zombie by the end of the day. But the funny thing was, after the first week, I started to really enjoy waking up at 5 a.m. and having that first hour of the day completely to myself. And I was able to start studying Korean and doing meditation and doing little things that I've always wanted to try, but never had the time. And since June, I've been doing that pretty much every single day, Monday to Friday. I don't do it on weekends. I like to have a rest for those days. But the beauty of that, it takes self-discipline to start it, but over time, self-discipline is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. So there's a wonderful YouTube video, and it's done by an American admiral. It was some kind of university commencement address that he gave. And he talks about self-discipline. Unfortunately, I can't remember his name. But he talks about self-discipline begins by making your bed every morning. And when you start doing something as simple as that, and you make sure you do it every single day, every time you get out of bed, the first thing you do, you make your bed before you do anything else, you're developing that muscle of self-discipline. And once you've got that, once you've developed that, you can start doing amazing things. So it really comes down to developing your self-discipline. That's where it all comes from.
I am familiar with that YouTube video. Like you just mentioned, I'm like, oh, yes, I've heard of it. Naval Admiral William H. McRaven.
That's the one, yes.
University of
absolutely
Texas.
True. Yeah.
Yes, University of Texas at Austin in 2014.
Yeah, but it is so true. You don't have to start big. Something like wash up your breakfast dishes in the morning before leaving the house. Little things like that, but you're developing that self-discipline, and that's something that is such a powerful thing to have, is a strong self-discipline.
And I really like one of your YouTube videos where it was like change your daily patterns and change your outcomes. So you just shared about the 5 a.m. club that you talk about on your podcast, but what are some other patterns that you like to share with everyone, some insight about the commitment process to that? Yeah,
one of the biggest things is like a lot of the times that we can go around. My biggest thing for next year or this year, 2019, is every year I have some kind of saying. So last year was less but better. This year, my mantra, I call it my mantra, is positivity and energy, because I've associated being positive and energetic is very infectious. And I found that if I've sat with a student for an hour, one of my language students, for example, and he or she is having had a bad day, and they start telling me about how bad their day is and all these bad things that are happening, when I finish that lesson and I'm coming home, I feel a little bit down. I mean, I'm not naturally a negative person. I'm a very positive person. But I find that affects me. And I thought, well, if they're affecting me, I must be affecting them. And that's what led me to think, right, if every interaction I have next year, I am super positive, super energetic, I can help those people to become more positive and more energetic. And And that's really where your daily outcomes and the patterns that you have. So if you wake up in the morning or if you have lunch with the same people and they're very negative people, you probably never think about it, but their negativity is affecting you. So if they're always complaining about their boss or always complaining about how much work they've got to do and how tired they are and all this, you might not think it's affecting you, but it actually is affecting your mindset, because that kind of low energy, that negativity is actually quite infectious. So if you find that you are having lunch, for example, this is just one example, with negative people, you need to change that behavior and to go and have lunch with more positive people, or change your patterns a few days a week and have lunch on your own where you can just think about your future, your skills, your development. And there are other things like when you come home at the end of the day, if the first thing you do is you sit down, you turn on the TV and start watching something you're not particularly interested in, but hey, it's TV, I'm not doing anything, I'm relaxing. Is that really doing your health and long-term future any good? Wouldn't it be better to sort of sit down, make yourself dinner, cook yourself a really healthy dinner and go out for a 30-minute walk? That might be a better behavior, a better habit to develop at the end of the day. So one of the thing I'd said in this particular video was people need to look at their daily behaviors and their daily habits and to be completely honest with themselves to identify what are the bad habits and behaviors they have each day and what can they do to change them. And when you change those, that's when your outcomes, your long-term outcomes start improving too. Your health will improve, your energy will improve, your mindset will improve. And it just starts by analyzing your daily habits and seeing where the maybe not so good ones that you could change and make better.
Totally. Now, procrastination. I am, on my skills recharge call to action, I'm really encouraging amazing professionals to not let procrastination reign when it comes to taking the time to dedicate their time, to rebuild their skills, to learn something new, to upgrade, or just become current with their knowledge and things of that nature. And so with that being said, I know that procrastination is another productivity snatcher. So please share how you implement the 2+8 procrastination method into your day. And then also let the listeners know why you changed to getting things done from the Covey system.
Well, let's deal with the procrastination first. Usually, sometimes procrastination can be a good thing. I find procrastination is actually a good thing in many ways because it's usually when my kind of subconscious brain is developing new ideas or new solutions to old problems. And sometimes I just let myself procrastinate. Now, the thing is, you've got to be in control of this, because if you let yourself procrastinate all the time, you're not going to get anything done. But procrastination in a negative way is when you know that you've got some very important work that needs to be completed like now, and you find yourself searching through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever social media system you have of choice. And that's when procrastination is bad. But sometimes procrastination occurs because you're not being very clear about what it is you want to achieve. So a classic example would be if you decided in 2019, I want to write a book. So you write down in a diary, write book. Well, you're not going to write the book in one day. And so when you see that write book, you're just not going to do it. It's too big a task. But if you write 500 words of my book and repeated that every single day, now you would have a much better chance of completing that book in the year, and you would not procrastinate. But if you just had a task that said write book, you'll procrastinate. You'll find some excuse for not doing it. So you've got to be very clear about your outcome. So procrastination usually occurs because you're not very clear about what needs to happen next. And that's one of the reasons why I actually brought in what I call my 2+8 prioritization system. And what it is essentially is you to select two things that you really must do the next day or today. What I call my objectives, the two objectives for the day. And that could be something as simple as go to the gym and call mum. That could be your objective for the day, and that's fine. Or it could be complete big project. That could be your objective for the day. The 8 is for the 8 other things that you would really like to get done that day because they are important. And you make sure that you get those. Suddenly you get the 2 things done, the 2 objectives done, and as many of the 8, what I call focus tasks done for that day. That way, it doesn't matter if you procrastinate the rest of the day. As long as you get those 10 tasks done a day, what that means is at the end of the month, you've done 300 tasks. That's a lot of tasks. And if you times that by 10, you've done now 3,000 tasks, in the actual whole, in almost a year. So you're getting a lot done. And so if you focus on just 10 things a day that you really want to or have to get done, you'll be surprised at how much progress you make throughout the year. But if you don't have any record or you don't make a plan of what you want to get done, you'll probably find yourself spending more time procrastinating than actually doing. And the reason why I changed to getting things done from the Franklin Covey system was quite simply in 2009 when I made the switch. That's when I got my first iPhone, and we were moving in. I could see we were moving into the digital world, and the Franklin Planner system is basically a paper-based system. And I've always liked technology, so the getting things done gave me the flexibility to go hybrid, which was a bit paper and a bit digital. But now I'm back now in 2019. I am pretty much 100% digital now. But it was essentially just the changing nature of the world. We were moving into a digital world when I made that switch, and that's why I did it, really.
I love it. A personal evolution, and you shared great confidence, a great way for listeners to build their confidence through the productivity share of the 2+8. So I love that. So thank you.
You can download my 2+8 prioritization sheet from my website, which I think will be in the notes, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Now, Carl, before we move on, can you just go and just share a little bit more about the different courses and books and downloads that you offer? Because it is some amazing information that you have on your site that you offer your clients and just the community, the global community as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I have my YouTube channel and my podcast, which essentially everything on there is completely free, and I share ideas and suggestions. And the podcast essentially is designed to answer people's questions about specific issues that they're having on productivity and time management and goal planning. The YouTube channel focuses on essentially 2 apps that I've been using for a very long time, Todoist and Evernote, as well as Productivity, which is my Productivity Mastery series, which I throw out there, things that I'm working on, things that I found that can really help people. And then I have what I call my Learning Center, which is where all my courses are, my free Beginner's Guide to Developing Your Own System, as well as Your Digital Life 2.0, which is the online course that goes with the book. And that's about a nearly probably 90-minute course that takes you through step by step everything that you need to do to build your own system. And what I call my flagship course, which is the Time and Life Mastery course, which is taking your goals, your dreams, everything that you want to achieve in your life, and building a whole system together that will take you to whatever it is that you want to achieve in your life. And that's what I call my flagship course. It's time. So it's time management as well as life mastery, and it brings the 2 together. And so that's on my Learning Center. Of course, I got my blog on my website. I do actually produce a lot of stuff. I just realized.
Yes.
But everything's on my website anyway. So.
Yes. I wanted the listeners to know because they can just pop in and the videos are, your YouTube channel is like, the videos are less than 15 minutes, most of them. And his podcast episodes are around the average of 8 to 10 to 12 minutes. So they're little nuggets. So if you don't have a lot of time in your day to listen to them. At least it's like something you can listen to on a break, during lunch, or on a drive home, and you can consume a lot of that data. So I just wanted to share that with you guys so you can take advantage of all the great resources that Carl offers. Now, Carl, I like to just share a few sentences with you that I would like for you to complete. So here we go. A strong, productive mindset is?
I'd have to say a disciplined mindset.
Ooh, that's a good one. My favorite snack is?
Also my worst habit, which is chocolate. And I shouldn't, and I have to discipline myself there, but yep. But it's definitely anything chocolate, that's my favorite snack.
It's okay to indulge sometimes. It's good. It's good. The time snatcher you aim to avoid most?
Phone calls. And do you know why?
Why?
The reason I try to avoid phone calls at all costs is because it's the one thing I have no control over how long it's going to take. Text message, email, I know what I can do. Even like podcast calls like this one, I know how long it's going to take. But if a phone call comes in on my phone, I have no idea how long it's going to take. And I avoid them like the plague.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, my hype song is?
I Live for That Energy by Armin van Buuren.
Ooh, good
Every single morning I listen to that. Oh, that one always charges my day.
You got so energized just sharing it, so I believe you.
No, it's just actually, it's just when I heard that question, then that came to me immediately. I live for that energy. It's just an amazing song. It will pick you up. Armin van Buuren, I Live for That Energy. It's just amazing.
Fantastic. Now, Carl, I appreciate you being a guest on the Career Tipper podcast. And we just end every episode with the guest sharing their favorite quote or affirmation that keeps them creating career tipping moments. So what is that for you?
That one is actually a Jim Rohn quote, which has been, I discovered it maybe 2 or 3 years ago, which is success is a few simple disciplines practiced every day.
Oh, that's a high five.
It is burnt into my brain, is that one. Success is a few simple disciplines practiced every day.
Yes, high five. I agree.
It's so true.
It is. Now, I know that we shared a little bit, but just give a recap. Please share how listeners can get in touch with you.
Best place to get in touch with me is through my website, which is www.carlpullein.com. All my resources, access to my YouTube, my podcast, my blog, online courses, and you can contact me through there as well. So that's the best place to go, is through my website.
Fantastic. And you can find me, Michelle Beatty, at CareerTipper.com and on Facebook and Instagram at CareerTipper and Twitter at CareerTipper1. Please listen and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher Radio. If you enjoyed this episode or any other episode of the Career Tipper podcast, please leave a 5-star review on iTunes. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Career Tipper podcast. We're grateful for our listeners and guests. For more resources about how to evolve to your professional best, share your comments and feedback about this episode and your suggestions for future guests, visit CareerTipper.com. Until next time, be confidently you.